Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to the online class, children. So far, we have seen about Nazism and the rise of Hitler. In the last session, you have learnt about the effects of the World War on Germany and also about the economic crisis. Under the economic crisis, you have learnt about the hyperinflation situation. Let's see the new topic, the years of depression. As we know that hyperinflation situation occurred in Germany. What does it mean? It means a situation in which the prices rise phenomenally high. So, due to this hyperinflation situation, Germany gained worldwide sympathy. As a result, the USA intervened and it wanted to bail out the Germany from the hyperinflation situation so that USA reworked on the war reparation agreement and introduced Dawes Plan to ease the financial burden of Germany. So, listen your children. So, USA intervened and it wanted to bail out the Germany from the hyperinflation situation so that USA introduced Dawes Plan to ease the financial burden of Germany. As a result, the years from 1924 to 1928 were the stable years for the Germans because the Germans got short-term loans from USA. From then onwards, the German investments and industrial recovery was completely dependent on the US loan. So, the years from 1924 to 28 saw some stability in the German economy. But in 1929, the USA withdrew its support when the Wall Street Exchange crashed in USA. What is this Wall Street Exchange? It's nothing but the world's biggest stock exchange. It's located in USA. So, when the Wall Street Exchange crashed in USA, it could not help the Germans. So, it withdrew its support from Germany. As the Wall Street Exchange crashed, people had a fear. People who invested on the Wall Street market, they had a fear that their investment might collapse. So, fearing a fall in prices, on one single day, 24th October, 13 millions of shares were sold. And this was a starting point of the Great Economic Depression in USA. Over the next 3 years, from 1929 to 1932, the national income of USA fell by half. Factories were shut down, business were collapsed, exports fell down, many banks were bankrupted, and people who invested in the Wall Street Exchange, Wall Street market, they started to withdraw their money back. So this is what happened in USA, and this is considered as a Great Economic Depression. So this depression occurred in USA, felt worldwide, and especially the German was the worst hit by this economic crisis because already we know the lot of things, the huge problem Germans faced. Okay, because we know the Treaty of Versailles was very harsh on the Germans, and then they experienced a hyperinflation situation, and additionally it was a huge burden for the Germans, and Germans was the worst hit by this economic crisis. Let's see what happened in Germany during the years of depression. In Germany, in the year 1932, industrial production reduced to 40% level, and of course workers lost their jobs, and people who were working also, they were given low wages. Unemployed reached 6 million. Many people in Germany were seen on the street and they just wearing a placard around their neck and said that willing to do any work. Unemployed youth played cards, sat on the street corners. As the job disappeared, youths involved in criminal activities too. So this is what happened in Germany during the Great Depression. Here you can see the image of the Germans who were wearing the placard around their neck and they were searching for a decent job. And here one more image, unemployed youths were sitting on the street corners. And the next one, here you can see the people, the Germans were sleeping on the lines. During the depression, for sleeping like this, the Germans have to pay some amount of money to the night shelters. And during the depression, the unemployed could not hope either salary or the shelter. Okay, so that is how the depression was affected the Germany. Let's see further. Okay, so German people were living in anxiety, fear. Anxiety is nothing but the Germans were very much worried about their life and they also had a fear about their future. Middle class people, especially the salaried employees, saw their savings will diminish when their currency lost their value. Diminish is nothing but become less. Okay, the salaried employees saw their savings become less when their currency lost its value. And small businessmen, self-employed, and retailers were suffered a lot. They suffered as their business got disappeared. So this state of anxiety by the salaried employees is called as proletarianization. What does it mean? Proletarianization is nothing but a situation in which salaried employees consider themselves as salaried unemployed. Even though they got salaried, they lost their currency value, isn't it? We have already seen earlier about the hyperinflation situation. So, the people who received a salary also, they considered themselves as a salaried employed because the German currency lost its value. Okay, and agricultural practices fell down. Only the organized workers they could keep their head above the water. Otherwise, all others were suffered a lot, and especially women felt difficult to fill up their children's stomach with food. Okay, and now we are going to analyze the political structure at that time. So the Weimar Constitution offers the proportional representation. This proportional representation allowed many coalitions to be formed to the German parliament. So many coalition means it's nothing but more than two parties, a lot of political parties to be elected for the parliament. So the proportional representation offers many coalition groups were formed. So these coalition groups were often disagreed on laws and policies because they had different views. So it made difficult for the it made difficult to govern the Germany decisively, to govern the country decisively. So the coalition form of government was one of the defects of the Weimar Constitution. And then the second defect is Article 48. This Article 48 gave the president the power to impose the emergency and suspended the civil rights of the citizens. Because of this Article 48, the 20 different cabinet was formed within a short period of time. Within 239 days, within this short period of time, 20 different cabinets was formed in the German parliament. So what happened finally? People lost confidence in the democratic parliamentary system of government because this parliamentary structure of government doesn't offer any solution for their problem. So people completely lost their confidence on the parliamentary structure. So this crisis in the economy, polity, and society was formed the background to Hitler's rise to power. Now note down the assignment, children. How did economic crisis begin in USA? What were the effects of economic crisis on Germany? What next? We will see in the next session, children.